I
And
did that
then
too.
I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. You hear the lady say it's being recorded, and then you're good to go.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome to The Miracle Is You. I'm your host, Ashley Lee, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today, I have a special guest on our premiere show called The Miracle Is You on Soulogy.com. Our special guest is my co-host, my co-facilitator, my co-creator and co-founder of The Miracle Is You inside our organization called Center for Conscious Awareness.org. Please welcome to our show, Annie Kaletkar. Welcome, Annie.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for having me here today. And a big shout out to Todd Medina for
Yes.
putting together his amazing program in the world that shares more light and love across this universe. And who knows, maybe into other universes too. And
We talk about that a lot on
yeah,
Soulogy.com. We talk our being our multidimensional selves
exactly.
in all the
Exactly.
frameworks of awareness that the miracle is you is going to bring forward this season. And we are so excited you're here to join us.
Ashley, I'm going to share a little bit about us and our partnership because I think it's very pertinent to the conversation we're having today. I think we met almost, was it 11 years ago?
Yes.
I have it linked up with my son's age, but we began to work on answering the question of how do we as healers amplify healing so that we could all do self-healing and we could all be the miracle. And I wanted spontaneous healing, and you're like, that's a very tall order. And I'm like, yeah, but we have all this body of evidence that it's possible.
Yes.
And how do we unlock that? And it took us on this amazing journey. I met you when you were working as a senior nurse in the cardiovascular unit of the Children's Hospital in the NICU.
Yeah.
And we were in the throes of dealing with my very young daughter with Down syndrome and autism, and how do we heal some of this stuff, right? It was just right in my face. And I was like, I want to create miracles. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then, as a family constellation facilitator, I was looking at, now, how could I do this in the knowing field? And we were always getting together daily to practice. And we realized we both had this enormous passion for research inside the knowing field, or, the mass consciousness grid, or inside not just the Akashic records, but all records. And we were looking and digging constantly for how do we make these miracles happen? And this journey has just never been a dull moment. And we've had so many victories and triumphs. And it just brings us right here to today, where I'm so glad that you're retired and from that nursing position, so that there's more stuff that you can work on and give your attention to as the wonderful healer that you are, and truly you are. You have this amazing gift for seeing the energetics inside root cause that blocks the fullest expression of what people truly want, what they intend in their life. And you've helped me do it. I know I've helped you do it, but that's because we learned together
Yes.
to be in that supportive role. And it has truly been an amazing journey. And if there is an immortal button for this body, I intend to push it. and I'll be right there with you, figuring out more as the universe turns.
Well, you just through your introduction and our introduction together and our relationship together and what we've cultivated and created here for ourselves, our families, our communities, and the world, quite honestly. And we have such huge initiatives and opportunities to share with everyone today. And I wanted to share with you something that you might not have noticed that I could notice even on the video feed. when you were sharing about our history and what we had gone through, did you notice that you had to look throughout your whole entire field to like find that information, to bring that information in? And that's what's so beautiful, because that's an objective, measurable, weighable, countable way to measure consciousness. Is we have refined the ability, as Todd and his beloved has developed too, in this technology called zero pointing technology. And we've developed it too in a relational way for adults to experience conflict resolution, because we found that creating an advanced process on, if that's actually truly simple, creates an ability to us to just zero out the past, really presencing ourselves to be fresh and new in the now moment, being in the flow, as Todd really illustrates that in his daily life. And we're like learning how to work with that in these constructs, in these environments, to get our wisdom, to get our consciousness, to share our awareness with each other, so that we have the opportunity to cultivate each other and grow. And so it's so neat for you to have to like kind of grab out of the ethers where those histories were, because we're so used to charging the memory with an emotion and then gathering that emotion, right, to then cultivate that memory. And now, in the opportunity of being present right here, right now, with you, the listeners, and all of us together, we're like, wow, new and fresh, what does that mean? And then to cultivate the history of where we've been and what we've been through to be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's so amazing. And I sense these attributes is we're able to zero out or let go of the emotional tags to these memories. We keep them in our library system, right? Even in our energy field.
Yeah.
And then we can access them. But we're now learning in real time how to access them without all of this emotional charge, so that emotionally we can be present right here, right now. You and me and Todd in the background and Soulogy in the background hosting this space and supporting us in hosting the space as the viewers are witnessing. Like, I'm turning orange. And I'm learning how to master my photonic energy with my own body. So you might see me shift a little, and I'm learning what that is, because I get emotional and our energy starts to shift, and somehow these video formats are illustrating it. So it's kind of funny.
It's
And
quantum.
it is quantum. We're like literally interfacing quantum with the computers and the camera screens, and how the optics work. And so in that process, it's so beautiful, because I get the opportunity now to be emotional here now versus emotional about what the past was. And this emotion literally drives matter into form. And when I'm here celebrating in gratitude and humble respect for both of you, all of us, even the listeners here that are here to experience what is the miracle is you. And when we do that in real time, we start to move the energy forward, right? Creating what it is we're here to create, rather than focusing or that negative feedback loop in the past, or that positive feedback loop in the past, right? And so we keep represencing the past, that kind of really moving forward. So these are some of the elements that this series called The Miracle Is You is going to expose, share, and give everyone an opportunity to really illuminate inside themselves how the miracle is you. And so, Annie, would you share just a little bit of history without the emotion? You might have to search your field, but what is your history in knowing the miracle is you before we started to cultivate Center for Conscious Awareness.org and that the Miracle Is You program? Who did you feel that you were as the miracle before we met 11 years ago?
That's a great
See
question.
how you're searching? It's so awesome.
I know, but I'm also looking to my forward into my future, which is kind of unusual because we store our memories of the past typically to the left.
We do.
But I suspect what I'm doing is checking in on the future version of me that I created from the past.
Yes, we can do that as well.
And kind of quantum jumping to that space to look back. And
our
also,
creativity comes forward, right? In those
yeah,
ways too, when we're present in the moment versus always rehashing the past. So nicely noticed. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I would have to say or share that lately I've been reflecting on where I am, in my mid-50s. Where do I want to go from here? And a good part of that is that I have, I've always trusted the universe to move me to where I believe I need to be, right?
Yeah.
And so that comes from an inspired moment where the person would open and then receive an inspiration, and then they have the opportunity to do the integration with that and what that might mean, and then take action if that's the chosen course. And lately that happened to me. I have just gobs of experience in business because I came from Silicon Valley, and then I got married and had a family and went into my healer self. I was in human resources prior. So I was a very big people person. And I didn't realize how much all of my experiences were actually shaping me for the next role that I am going to step into, which is building a company with humanitarian support services. And I think what is probably the most interesting for our conversation here is that during those years that I did hundreds of jobs, I did not know that I was being a miracle in those roles. It didn't.
Yes.
But it's only within the last month or so that I came to realize that everything was preparing me for this moment. And I think our society has this, I don't know what to call this, but you're supposed to know who and what you are in your early 20s, right? You're supposed to know what you want to study at university or college, or go into a program where you're going to be mentored or learn a craft or a skill, right? And then you're going to do that for the rest of your life. And I never knew what that was. All I knew, and this was me trusting my inner guidance, was that I was called to do this. And a door opened and I said, yes, I'll walk through that door. And they were all different. There was no one consistent door. And so here I am today, looking backwards going, oh my gosh, it couldn't have been more perfect, but I couldn't see it back then because I had other people saying, you're so inconsistent. You can't hold down a job. You don't know what you want. You don't have any stick-to-itiveness. You're fickle, whatever it was. And today I'm saying, oh, heck no. I had the most perfect education I could have ever needed or wanted for what I'm about to do next.
Yes. And that's really true. Us being able to add value and determine what the value is while we're in the middle of it is really interesting, because in the past, we as a society have been focused on what's wrong in front of us, how do we have to fix it, and that wrong is based upon past timeline unfolding. And so we have to kind of fix the wrongs to make the present right. And we're so fixated on that we can't focus, or we haven't focused yet, on what it is the future we're walking into with conscious choice, with volitional intention, with an idea coming from the heart rather than from fear or challenges that we experience in our everyday lives that we had to fix.
Yeah, and during your miracle, you may be judging the miracle, not recognizing that you're in process.
That our life is a journey and not necessarily a destination. That the
Exactly.
destination is love unfolding. And how do we create that love unfolding even in a serious environment, right? And what does that look like? And how do we add humor? How do we add the flow? How do we support ourselves and others to be present in the moment to really cultivate that? Because as we start standing in our power, in our miracle, in our giftedness, in the moment, we recognize we can move forward with that rather than contemplating on how we had to fix the past that got us to the mistake we're experiencing now. Right. And so we're always living, or we used to always live inside of that space called the mistake. I'm a mistake. I have bills. This is wrong. That relationship is bad. What's going on? I'm not where I want to be. I'm not who I want to be. And we're so focused on really
Our fears.
and fixing that past.
And what's not right. And, you know, I will be completely transparent and authentic here. And I will share that I grew up with a huge demand for perfectionism inside myself and outside of myself. And so with that came make wrong. And you and I did not find that in me. And until I cleared make wrong consciousness, I literally had to pull the thumb driver, the SIM card out of my mind and look at it and be completely honest and go, oh my, I have huge make wrong consciousness. I have fear of being told, you're wrong, you're doing it wrong, you didn't get it right. And then I was pointing the finger too, not just at myself, like I did it wrong or I didn't get it right. Or I missed my mark, right? That's perfectionism, right? I have a goal and it's got to look like this. And if I don't get there. And so it didn't matter where the finger was coming from. I was always in that people pleasing mode, people pleasing chameleon mode. I will be like you and build rapport. And, you know, it just, when you're in perfectionism, you're in fear. When you're fearing make wrong, you're going to strive even harder to be more perfect. And so it's this exhausting treadmill and it's very difficult to get off of. And I was reflecting just last night that I have spent a good part of my life encouraging people to let go of their fears. Like I was their cheerleader because something in me, the healer in me, knew all along that being in fear was never the answer. It couldn't be. And I'll share even more here that I was blocking my own healing by not letting go of make wrong. And when I finally did deeper and deeper and deeper levels of clearing that consciousness challenge with the conflict resolution process, the 5 steps that we came up with, I never quite got the feeling of peace. And then one day I was being accused by a neighbor I never even met of doing something I didn't do. And I stood there in front of my other neighbor who's sharing all this with me. I was grinning from ear to ear and she didn't understand my reaction. But my reaction was, oh, there's no make wrong in me. I'm just finding this funny that someone would think I would do that. and I told her, let it go, relax. I didn't do it. And I don't really care. And it wasn't apathy. It was just, I knew I was absent of taking her words and making myself wrong and feeling I had to rush to the defense. And so as we clear our fear-based thoughts about who we are and our experiences in the world, we get to those places that are amazing, where our needle never moves. We don't get triggered and we just stay in that groove of neutrality and peace. And we realize we did the work. We're the miracle. And that was one of those glorious moments. And I was just so excited.
It is amazing, right? To notice where we had our previous life, let's call it that.
Mhm.
And before we became aware of our unconscious thoughts and feelings and patterns in our life that caused these negative feedback loops to continue to happen in our lives, with our relationships with ourselves, with each other, and the environments we were choosing to create or creating through levels of suppression or acquiescence, where we agree that, or we get recruited into these environments and we don't realize that we're diminishing the miracle is us each and every step of the way, and it diminishes. And so what are we really talking about here? What are we really sharing in this deep conversation about the miracle is you? Is what is the miracle in you, Annie? What is that?
For me, it's clearing the layers of fear so that I can express my innate giftedness. I know my true nature is love. I can feel myself going into my feelings. And the more I express my true nature of love, I am happy. I am soaring. I'm doing everything I want to do. It's when I get into fear that, things shift. They don't go where you want it to go. And so it's this choice that no, I'm not going to come from fear. I want to express my giftedness in such a way that it's soft, it's engaging, it's in service to everyone. It means I'm going to practice my self-love so that my vessel is full, so that when we come together, we bring all the good stuff, right? And then I'm not dragging and I'm not upset about some conflict that you have to work on because we were
Right.
there in the beginning,
Right.
right? Because I didn't know that my thoughts were producing my feelings and my feelings were producing my emotions. And some days we would get together and chat, and we had to clear all my stuff first. And the only reason we were able to do that was because your vessel was full. You had done your self-love. And so as I learned from you, and now many others learn from me because I'm podcasting and doing other things independently, the growth in society is massive because of the ripple effect that when we let go of one fear, we impact everyone around us for all eternity because it's not in us.
Right.
And that was the huge learning of what it means to be a miracle for me.
Yes.
Because I realized my family dialed down, impacts with neighbors ceased to exist. Not that I really had any, but I became less judgmental of my neighbors when I started to let go of perfectionism. And, it was a little hard in the beginning to live next to someone with a neon blue house. And eventually it got painted, right? When I let go, that was something I had to judge. It got painted fog gray. And I was like, oh, look at that. Another miracle. But when we let go of all of that judgment that we're carrying around about everything, and we stop focusing on our fear-based, points of origin, our point of view, that we have to judge the world around us or even ourselves, and we cease to give energy to that, and we start to focus on what we're really about, which is expressing love, human kindness.
Yes.
It goes
Well,
so far.
and one of your other miracles about you that I've noticed is that you're innately, and your innate giftedness is also an artist. And in that artistry, if you go a little bit deeper to maybe the framework of what creates an artist, there's lots of different varieties of those frameworks. And one of your frameworks is seeing and experiencing and emulating beauty into your environment. So it makes sense that you had some fear basis around judging what isn't beautiful, for colors, for schematic themes for illustrating the energy of an environment, those sort of things. And when we have a basis or an innate giftedness and we layer it on with fear basis and ickiness and perfectionism, we don't realize that perfectionism is really a fear basis.
Completely.
And when we move into,
Completely.
wow, everything's perfect the way it is, and we can also improve.
Yeah.
And how we improve is really in the realms of relating, possibly more than what the color is, because then when we're relating better, like you just shared, then the colors start to improve naturally.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I brought peace into me, and then it rippled outwards. And it was amazing. Someone in the family stepped up and made the change.
It says, wow, maybe neon blue really is overwhelming for people that walk in our neighborhood.
It was for the whole neighborhood. And so I decided I wasn't going to judge it. I was going to just breathe and let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we do that, right, when we let that go, and what does that mean? Letting go of judgments, our own self-judgments about ourselves, that I can't do anything about it, I can't say anything. And what we're really recognizing is that we've judged the ability to create and to change our environment by using push and shove and demand and insist and expect. I call it demand, exist.
Oh yeah, I love
insist
that.
and expect.
Yeah.
Is to make things die.
And then you could throw in jealousy consciousness on top of that, which shares, I fear that you are busy filling someone else's cup up with love and I'm being cheated.
Right.
And so back to demanding, insisting, and expecting.
Right. And so when we let go of those daggers we're throwing out into the energy field, right, between your house and your neighbor's house, right, it impacts the neighborhood, and it impacts those fields of awareness kind of linger there. And they linger there related to possibly another gift and another superpower, another miracle is you. And what is that you find in your repertoire of living your life, your whole life, and even up to now? What is that giftedness that you give to the world, you share with the world?
Let me answer this with a little bit of a story to front load it, because
All right.
I was a very introverted, reserved child. And by around the age of 7, I noticed that it was impacting my ability to learn from the world. And I really love learning. And so I started watching my mother, who's, from Ireland, and she can't let anybody go by her without talking to them. So I started to observe how she would talk to them. And I asked her one day, and these are not her exact words, but it's close. I asked her, like, how do you start talking with people? And she shared, like, oh, I just let something catch my eye about them, and then I comment on it. So in my world, I started to do that, but I noticed that I interpreted that as look for the good in people and comment on it, because everything she was commenting on was, oh, look at that cake in your shopping cart. Oh, look, I love your purse. Or, oh, that's a nice jacket you're wearing today. And I noticed these were all good things to talk about. So I interpreted that as good. Look for the good in people. And so my variation on a theme was I went through life looking for good. And then when I saw it, I noticed that I was cheering them on for making a good choice, or expressing an amazing quality. And little by little, I was getting feedback from people that this was healing them. And I didn't understand it or put these pieces together. I had people write me letters that said, because of you, I went back to university, or because of you, I changed my job. Because of you, I, let go of this whatever, and I'm happy now. And so I was like, oh, that's so nice. I didn't even consider myself a healer. And then I learned about family constellation work and fell in love instantly and said, oh, this is for me. This is what I've been waiting for. And I thought that was the end all be all. I found my career. And yes, I still do it and use all my skills. But, you know, something else came along and you noticed in me that I was venerating people. And I was like, what is that?
What is that?
And I, with a little bit of teasing the whole idea apart, you and I gleaned that what I was doing all along was seeing the light in people and amplifying it. And I was venerating their light, their gifted state, and growing it and holding that space for them to expand their light and amplify it. And that's where the healing was occurring, because they were bringing in more self-love, more light, having more trust and faith in who they were, because maybe someone like me saw it, noticed it, and grew that light with them, for them.
Yes, that's completely what I saw as I expressed the miracle is me, and the miracle is me as being a seer. And I could literally see the light coming from you from different sectors of your body, quite honestly.
Wow.
So sometimes you would light it up from the mind, or the mind to the mind. You'd light up the heart to the heart. You'd light up the solar plexus, or our center of, power, and you'd light to theirs, or you would even light to the hands and give credence to what it is we're physically molding and creating in the physical world with our hands. And I noticed that, and that to me is like a lighthouse, right? So we're shining the light of the truth on others, and we're seeing the good or the love that is innate in their body and their energy field, and who they are and who they're being in the world. And then the word veneration comes a step further, where you decide to start to relate to that person by not just shining the light on them and illuminating that light inside of them and connecting your light to their light and their light to your light and their light to the world. But also what you're doing is verbally or non-verbally or through an exchange of physically relating with another person or groups of people, you're able to share who they are, what they are, and what you perceive them to be, so that they receive a perception from something outside of themselves that then illuminates value. And we start to learn how to, through relating, value each other. And, maybe in the olden days, right, we were discerning this with some of our consciousness challenges. We labeled fear-based thinking patterns.
Yeah.
And we said, what is niceties? Like, when are we being ultra nice to somebody?
Right.
And it's kind of like our friend Bruce Lipton says, BS, right? Our belief system. And it is our belief system that we have to be nice, because if we're nice, then they're nice to me. And if they're nice to me, then I get what I want. And so then this whole nicety thing becomes a level of manipulating the relationship versus actually being truly open and authentic. And we intermingle the fear and the good in our giftedness. And what we're here to do is provide in this Miracle Is You series is to unravel those fear bases tied into our miracles and our giftedness, so that we're able to really come through clearly, openly, and authentically sharing our innate giftedness with each other.
I was just about to comment and say that part of owning your miracle has to be taking inner personal responsibility for its ongoing expression in your life, because there are unconscious fears and beliefs that will dim your light and suppress the miracle.
I've resembled that that consciousness, learning how to dim light, because I want everybody else to be as miracle as I am. And so I used to think that I'd have to dim my light so that I could help everyone else shine. And I didn't realize that when I was dimming my light, I was reflecting or projecting into the field or relating to the field. It's good to dim your light. And I didn't realize I was feeding into that negative feedback loop system where I was really humbly wanting to have everyone rise above me. I was excited that people would be experiencing their gifts and their miracles in front of me and everyone else.
Right. So thank you for sharing that, because we have these deep needs to belong,
Yeah.
to share. We can feel compromised. These are all fear-based thoughts that have to be cleared. And so it's like your miracle, you have to keep it clean and do the clearing work. And that means releasing the consciousness challenges as they show up, because there was this day, I don't know if you remember this, when we made our Conscious Choice Challenge 101, and we were tuning into one of the problems that people often have, which is they come into awareness of their power, and then they have this, oh, I do want to own that. Oh, wait, I don't want to own that, because the responsibility is like, ah. And then we found this picture of this young boy with a baseball bat hitting the baseball. And even that was a little bit contrived, right? Because we, the viewers, see it through the window pane. Here comes the baseball in through the broken window. And that was like such a great example of, yeah, I want this power. I want to be able to hit it out of the ballpark. Oh, but the consequences if I use my power incorrectly, because, you know, one day we were walking around my town, my city, and I gaslighted you. And it was, I said, you were complimenting me on our floral hedge. And I said, yeah, but you have one of those too, right? And I energetically was seeing your yard or some part of your yard as having like a hibiscus hedge or something. And you went into agreement with me. And then later you said, wait a second, I don't have one of those. But I believed you in the moment. So that is where I had to go, oh, oops, I got to own that. I got to own that if I'm not correct, I can project something into the awareness of someone and get them to buy in. And so I immediately was like, oh, that one needs extra awareness. And so that's just an example of, you know, having that giftedness come out. And even when you're not intending to do any harm at all, there can be unintended consequences. And if we didn't have the beautiful friendship that we have, the open and honest, you might have been like, you know, like, oh, I can't trust Annie anymore.
Right, right. Well, no, it's really beautiful, right? Because what you're doing is you're taking veneration into the future or in alternate possibility.
Yeah.
And then expressing that in a way that the person can visualize that for themselves and then create that. But we hadn't developed the conversation in our society yet to have that kind of deeper conversation to say, hey, as a person that can see the light of truth, that can see an opportunity, have you ever considered developing a bougainvillea, you know,
Exactly.
in your backyard, because it could create da 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 da, you know, and all that. Yeah. And then now you're inviting the person into the future possibility rather than telling them how it is.
Yeah, like that synoptic pillar of truth, like, oh, we could agree to this and we could make that happen.
Yes. And then you get to be my sponsor energetically for supporting me in cultivating that idea, that potential, that possibility unfolding.
Yeah.
And so we haven't looked at these ways yet, or we're developing them now, you know, 11 years later in our society, we're developing these kinds of conversations and these kinds of ways of relating with each other to support our empowered states of being, minus the fear states that we had to push or force or demand people to make things happen. Like we've developed some things in our society like NLP or neurolinguistic programming or other ways in which to hypnotically support people that are kind of stuck and suppressed or depressed in their feelings, and supporting them in coming through by accessing their subconscious and then helping them reframe it. But a lot of times they don't know that that's happening with them. And so then they can't take interpersonal responsibility for what's occurring in their subconscious or their unconscious. And then they are dependent upon therapeutic interventions to bring forward the miracle as them. And what we're supporting here and so many in Soulogy and in other platforms around the world is we're here to support everyone igniting that inside of yourself and recognizing and becoming aware inside of yourself. So nowadays, when you're fresh and new in every moment, letting go of all that make wrong and perfectionism and false niceties, if we could call it that, now you see someone down or out or challenged, like, your French bakery is such a great situation of going to a favorite place that you love to go to get some baked goods that are amazing. And maybe the person's a little bit down behind the counter or their energy's low. How do you support their veneration now as an illustration to help illuminate that giftedness in them if they're feeling a little bit down? And you so love the space and the place and the product and the service that they provide that you want to continue cultivating that value and sharing with them the genuine, authentic appreciation you have for them. How do you reframe that now so that people could have a living example of what that means to express our giftedness kind of clean shaven or, purified in that authentic delivery?
Okay, so I have, you're right, I do something. And I actually, when I notice that someone's energy is low, I may recognize that, oh, maybe the previous customer was rude. So in my energy field, I'm like, I'm the next new person, right? I am new and fresh. Here's the opportunity. And I realize that I am the opportunity for them to change their outlook on how the world is. So I don't give any energy to the victim presentation or judge the previous customer. It's over, it's in the past. I don't give any power to it. And then I am seeing the one before me with love, because I know that they are God by extension. The spark of the divine is in all people. And that is the light that I'm greeting. And so it's like my hi, how are you, is really, hi God, how are you? And I'm like, just, energy up. I'm just filling that energetic real estate between me and them with all the good feelings. And I'm allowing them to take the opportunity and just be present with me, because who I am matters. And that's in my energy field, that my presence is love. And I'm greeting them with love, honoring their presence of love. And I find within 8 or 10 seconds, and it's not me conjuring a good experience. It's not me fixing my world. It's not that at all. It's this organic opportunity for them to say, oh, wow, look there are loving, kind humans in the world. And I'm sharing that message through my energy field. And that is transformative. And I have on a piece of paper taped to my office wall, the transformation of the world begins inside this space. Now, the space is really me, but it's also my office, because this space is where I do my work. And I remember that if we're going to make sociological change on this planet, and you are the grand master of sociological change, honest to God, you understand it inside. It is so profound how we, can move the needle on how this world works. If we take ownership and take interpersonal responsibility for every fear-based thought and conflict resolve it, we impact millions. Yeah. We don't realize it. Like, if I let go of my judgments and I'm driving in traffic, everyone that passes me is passing through my energy field, my aura. And they're not picking up on my fears that traffic's going too slow.
Well, I'd love to share a little bit. I had an experience yesterday when we were speaking in the morning and sharing, and I said, I would love to frame the day of my awareness and in integrating that with everyone I intersect with, everybody I'm around, in on the inner and the outer. So at a distance or in the immediate environment. And I really I focused with moving from the wishing well to the wisdom well. And our friend Todd Medina had created a podcast with us about this concept.
That's right.
And moving from the wishing well to the wisdom well. And I drove from San Diego to Sedona, Arizona yesterday. And on the road, there's a major freeway that runs from LA to Phoenix. And there was a lot of trucks. It was amazing. And there was this one trucker in the passing lane, and he was just hanging out right behind the fender of another truck in the right-hand lane. And he did it for miles and miles and miles and miles. And it was so fascinating to be behind him. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, why is he hanging there on the fender, controlling everybody in their lanes? And I was like, what is the control about? So I was really a little bit mental to sort for what is the mental energies that's having him do this to support him in a positive way. And I thought about it and I said, I'm not finding the answer that he is looking for support, love, and service that would help him kind of help everyone else on the road. He was stuck in his own kind of energy bubble that I could feel was depressed or low energy. And I went to listening. I just dropped my mind. I'm driving right behind his truck. I dropped my mind. I quieted my mind. You could say I listened with my heart, but I listened with my whole being. And I went to his energy and I said, what is it that you would like? And he just shared in his energy, I have low energy. And I could see the middle of his back just being completely drained, unsupported. And I'm like, of course, you're a long distance trucker. Of course, you're all alone most of the day. Of course, it's really hard to, receive reciprocal, awesome relationships like you just provided with the person at the French bakery shop, right? So I was like, oh, he is feeling depressed in his own energy field. So what if I just shared and facilitated a little bit of internal power, internal vivaciousness? Within 4 minutes of sharing that energy facilitation. So it wasn't my energy that I was giving him. It was universal energy that he had forgotten how to access. So I gave it in his awareness, how to access it, how to breathe it in, how to live it and be it. Within 4 minutes, he moved over. And it was fascinating because what he was asking for was not wanting to control everybody in the traffic and everything else. What he was asking for was somebody to provide him with the energy that he didn't know how to provide for himself at that moment. And it was so great. And as I passed him, I said, may you have the rest of your day remembering how to elicit and activate and open that energy flow in your body so that you know that the universe is pronoically supporting you.
Exactly.
Even if nobody's talking to you, even if you're going this really long distance to deliver these products, that you can live your life and be the happy, beautiful being that you are. And it was awesome because I could feel his energy shift when that occurred, because what I did was I quieted myself to get closer to who he is. So we both provided in our unique giftedness how to support others, verbally, non-verbally, light energy, consciousness sharing, all sorts of different ways in which we can express the miracle is us cleanly, openly, authentically, so that everybody wins, no one's left out. And when we experience that, don't we feel that in our bodies?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just thinking while you were talking and in our, just prior to that too,
Yeah.
when we're in our giftedness, we're like puzzle pieces that fit together really well.
Yes.
And the coming together of the gifts is amplified, how can it not be? But if we're coming with, one person's coming with gifts, another person's coming with fear, it's like that Velcro stuff. It's a hook, and they're looking for a loop, right, to hook into, and it drags everything down. And when you come together in giftedness with no friction, no consciousness challenges, just cups full, ready to move, everything goes up and is magnified inside this prosperity, this amazing pronoic universe. And wow, that guy, you can drive behind me anytime.
Well, just think if we all knew how to do that and be present to that, rather than flinging, could you get out of the way? What's wrong with you?
Right.
Then we're feeding him what's wrong with him. And he's like, yeah, I haven't had a bad day. And we're like, where did that come from? Like,
I'll tell you where it comes from, because most people have time as a liability consciousness. I had it when I'd be in the fast lane. I finally got a chance to look at who victimized my time. I would be looking, oh, it was you.
Right. And then, well, how do you think they receive that energy? Right?
Not anymore.
They're like, oh, the world hates me.
I know. Now I'm like, to the driver, would you like to be courteous and move aside so other people who have time as a liability can go faster?
Well, there you go. Then you're giving them the consciousness that maybe some other people might have a negative thought process around how we work with time and how we work in the flow, right?
Exactly.
And so as we're learning to become present with who we are, what we are, and where we're being in the world and how we're being in the world, that comes through so beautifully to recognize that the miracle is us, is you, is me, is we. And as we start to create these miracles together, we haven't even really begun to open that lotus flower, that blossom in the world of how we can all work together.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
And so in creating centerforconsciousawareness.org, we created this nonprofit as an opportunity to share with everyone to release their victim consciousness inside of themselves. And we recognize that when you're a victim or you're a perpetrator, this energy just kind of flips back and forth and stays in its own negative feedback loop system. And we're looking at ways in which keys, and guess what the keys are, to breaking these negative feedback loop systems. There are miracles. That's our giftedness. These are the keys. We are the keys to breaking these negative feedback loops, these negative distortions, these misinterpretations, these false projections and reflections, because we want what we want in our life. And we don't realize that we are actually the creator of what it is we're choosing to co-create with ourselves and others.
Correct.
And so in this process, we created a tool belt in the leapofconsciousness.com where we've created 12-week meditation programs. And what we do is help you and support you go through contextual frameworks, sort of what we were talking about today, and moving into that process and supporting you in really illuminating by connecting to your own inner guidance. That way to manifest in a weekly meditation that you connect to, that supports you recognizing the miracle as you. Noticing some of those entanglements of fear basis that's inside of them, letting them go, making them into pure form. And what is pure form? Our love, our true nature of love, sharing it in every moment of every day. And in that, even when we have conflict, right? That we can illustrate.
When you learn that you can choose peace even while you're walking through hell, your life changes. And it takes 3 seconds to choose peace and not go into judgment.
Right.
It's profound.
Well, when we start to conflict resolve and release the judgments, we start to, when we really focus on that for a few moments, and we focus on what our self-judgments are, and then what are the judgments we're flinging out into the field, we recognize we get clear ourselves with what our BS, our belief systems, is, and how we can actually reframe that to maybe VS, value systems, that are actually valuable for all, rather than just, it's all about me, 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 I have to get what I want. As we've realized in our work together and our research that's been so profound, is that when we move out of the me, 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 and we move into the us, 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 receiving abundance and sharing abundance becomes natural and organic. We don't have to get into this give and take to experience our value.
Very true. And I'll be so honest here, but it's taken me a while to change from, me and my to our and us and we. And those are the most optimal ways to relate with people. I learned something from my mother. I had to change it very quickly to change the environment in my house. And she used to say, "That's my furniture. This is my home." And anyways, I was saying that too. And one day I woke up to the reality and I was like, okay, hey guys, I erroneously called everything mine. It's ours. And from now on, it's our collective environment. And we are going to take care of it. And,
Yeah.
and their eyes went, ah.
Right? And then we can return to when we experience something uncomfortable or that unexpected, or we didn't want to, we can go into, I accept, me accept, 100% responsibility for that.
Yes.
And what was my contribution, even if it was just witnessing the scene?
Yes.
What is my contribution to this process, and how may I love, serve, and support the environment to return to its natural state of balance, which is love, and creating those solutions, even when they're problematic, creating those solutions based from love, rather than a reactionary fear that drives us back into these negative feedback loops. It can keep us busy. I guess we get on board, but I've never been bored in my life.
No, me neither. And I had to really break my son of coming to me looking to have his boredom corrected, because I realized if he never solves his own problems, he'll never be the miracle.
Yes.
And that was like so obvious to me, but not to him. And he just, easy button consciousness or shortcut consciousness or whatever it is, right? I need someone to do it for me consciousness. I was like, oh, no, we are not creating codependency. You're going to be your own miracle. And he did not like that, but he learned. And now he's autodidactic. If he decides, well, yeah, I'm bored, I better go find something to do. Well, what's going to be the most entertaining? Because that's most 8-year-olds, not what's going to be the most educational. And so he started to change and adapt. But I want to get back to what you were sharing, because in service to us is the most gorgeous philosophy I have ever heard in my life. Because when we are in service to us, this is where we support the miracles of everyone being released. And I'm in the process of creating conscious global leaders and conscious business executives, and coaching them to be thinking in terms of how is it good for not just me, but everyone on the inside of the company, on the outside of the company, whether it's vendors, whether it's the clients of the company, the owner of the property that we lease from. It's got to be a win-win-win all the way around, and for the environment, for our planet. And when we're in service to us, a united species as humans and all sentient beings, we begin to open our hearts to solving our problems from inside the space of love and peace and trust and faith. And that list just grows, because we're now getting away from solving our problems from fear. And that, my friends, is the real miracle. When we're doing that, everyone's light is activated, and we're all coming from this excitement of, oh, let's solve this together. Oh, that would be amazing. What would be amazing for everybody? in the past, we had metrics for, oh, did we make our profit numbers? Did we reach our goals? And it's all, left brain linear 3D, 4D stuff. And now as we move into 5D and beyond, we should be unifying all of our dimensions of awareness. We have this gorgeous opportunity to be experiencing how many people did we uplift today? How many people did we serve? How many people are being given an opportunity as a hand up and not a hand out? How are we making this good for the world? How are we supporting everyone? And inside that, we find the in service to us philosophy. And ever since I chose to adopt it and use it as my inner guideline for, am I meeting my own criteria for my choices, I'm moving more and more out of me-centrism and more into us-centrism.
Yes.
And that is a process. And this program really does, help everyone get to that place where we are in us centrism, because me centrism is I want what I want, when I want, with who I want, where I want. And then because we have these preferences, we become hookable. Isn't that right, Ashley? Like
we become hookable to marketing, to
right
yes, to products and services we may not necessarily choose to have to promote the opportunities we're bringing forward into our future and into the present, creating our present unfolding. It's each step walking forward. And when we connect to our inner guidance, when we connect to our true love of being, we start to recognize that first next step is a miracle. And then that first next step is another miracle. And that first next step is another miracle. And we start living naturally and organically in the realm of gratitude without having to make it happen or push it to be so. And so we lose this idea of having to have incantations or affirmations or words of praise that we count on from other people in order to feel validated. When we are our natural, organic, authentic, loving selves, those compliments, those gratitudes, they come forward naturally and organically in the relating. Nobody has to make them happen or manipulate them to be that way so I can get what I want. Again.
Right, which is a fear-based thought that I have to get what I want, otherwise I'll be a victim.
Yes. And I'm so grateful for creating this program where we really get to choose consciously, co-creating with our inner guidance, with all the attributes and access points of our spirituality, marrying, unifying our field of our spirituality, our emotional states, our mental states, our physical states, really optimizing those relationships with ourselves and each other and the environments we really choose to create. And from that, we really move forward in systems and structures that I don't think we've seen just yet. And I'm so excited as they start to evolve.
Yes, we're laying these foundation stones with individuals who have woken up to the fact that they are the miracle.
Yes.
And they've been working on clearing their consciousness challenges so that they can have the life that they intended. And that was to come from human kindness and love and not judgment. And I personally am so excited by the group of people that I have been working with. They're investors who are going to be expressing humanitarian goals and philanthropic goals. And in that collective, the beauty that's being expressed, the beauty of the soul, that is just, it takes my breath away. And I'm so, so grateful to have the opportunity to be surrounded by these conscious global leaders.
Yes.
And it shares with me that we are the proof that we choose to create.
We are.
They chose it and they're living it. And I'm like,
yes. Yes.
Thank you. And so it is truly a remarkable era that we're entering, and many are calling it the quantum era. And one of the things that
quantum era of the golden age.
Yeah, and we're sharing with people how to do their own quantum energy healing.
Yes.
Because, you know, as we recognize that it's our thoughts that produce our feelings, and our feelings produce our emotions, and then all of this leaves our body as a big brainwave, and it impacts the atomic world. And we wake up to that, we go, oh, I didn't know that was how I was creating my reality. And
Yes.
then they have the opportunity to say, well, wait a second, I want to choose a different reality.
Yes.
And that tells me that they're ready to be the miracle.
And when we create our realities through our giftedness, naturally what starts to unfold is our mission, vision, purpose, and passion in life, right? What we came here to be, or what we came here to do, what we came here to learn, what we came here to experience. And for me, it's optimal relating.
Yes.
So how can I optimally relate with my environment, with other people, with myself? And then create that. I mean, all the way down to the cellular DNA level, every level of awareness and experience. I'm here to support through, and I call that energy mastery. And I love it because as we become aware with our energy mastery, like, how do I keep changing my facial, you know, for using my emotions? One day, right, we were working on Zoom and the whole screen turned green. And your screen turned green and my screen turned orange. And I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And so how do we actually be who we're being, to share what we're sharing, to optimize love expressed in every way?
It's
even
like
when challenges are
self-calibration, right?
Yes.
Yes, I can calibrate my energy. I'm not being impacted by the world around me and others. It's me creating every thought, every feeling, every emotion. And when I recognize that, I get to own it.
Yes.
Then I'm standing in my power. And because now I have the opportunity to use that tool belt. And we do have so many tools, Ashley. It's not just the Miracle is You, but we have our educational platform, leapofconsciousness.com, where there's the magnitude of tools is profound. And I use them almost weekly. I will jump on there and say, get on Zoom, I want to show you something. And I teach them about belief systems through all of our little memes. And I see the heads going, oh yeah, wow, I didn't think of it this way. And then suddenly, boom, epiphany, right? It's like, yeah, no one ever explained how change happens. And I didn't get that education in any of the schooling that I did. And I did quite a bit of schooling. So I'm just sharing that we have cracked open a lot of the material people have been so hungry to learn, and we have made it simple. And we've really, there's resources, you know, as from here to here, on YouTube and on Leap of Consciousness and my channel and your channel. And they all culminate inside the Miracle is You, because everything is brought into the energies that are shared for creating the change that each person wants to create uniquely for themselves, as, you know, an individuated expression of the whole.
Yes, so much so. Well, we are so excited that you joined us today in sharing our premiere episode of The Miracle is You. And really, we invite you to digest, to ingest, to experience this podcast in a way that you can really cultivate and notice and become aware of the miracles inside you, your giftedness, and how to bring that forward. Noticing some of the challenges we had with it, noticing some of the coping mechanisms we've used with it, and then allowing ourselves to really move through and let go of those ideas that we have to be perfect, we can't make wrong, and that we can address our fears by releasing the judgments around those fears so that we can actually really see them for what they are and what they haven't been, and moving those belief systems into greater value systems where we get to share our love wholeheartedly with ourselves and each other. And so we are so grateful. Please come and join us again next week. It's every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Time in America. And we are broadcasting around the world. We globally invite you to come and join us. to know that the miracle is you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashley. It was a pleasure.
I am not sure how to end the call. Let's see.
I'm not sure either.
Okay, well, we'll leave it, and I think that will end the live stream. Thank you all for joining us.
Have a good day.